It's the Divots and Pivots show. Welcome to Masters Week. Welcome to the first tee. I'm your host, Andrew LeDuc, at Real Mr. Mallard. The man over here to my left, I think that's my left, Bud, Mr. Bud Copeland, at this Bud's for you. Look, it's Masters Week, the greatest week of the sports world, sports year, and I'm ready for it. How are you feeling this week?
I like that you said it's the greatest week of the sports year because it really is. The Final Four ended on Monday. More importantly, Tiger showed up to Augusta on Monday,
Sure did.
and yeah, we'll save it. But it is one of the most nostalgic, incredible weeks of the year. One of the things about the Masters that is so great is its consistency through time.
Yes.
There's something iconic about that and beautiful about the fact that we know what to expect, what to hope for, and then every year a curveball comes and something happens and a new chapter is written. So it is that time of year. I'm excited. You're excited. The folks at Fantasy National excited. Belly Up is excited. I'm nervous. I don't want to get going too fast. I've got pages of notes over here. I've got thoughts. I've got questions for you. I'm still a little high from beating everybody's ass at Jeopardy the other night. Shout out Kamish. That was so much fun. TJ, you were awesome.
If you didn't catch it, we can talk about that real fast because Bud showed up to play. He took names, he kicked asses, and he chased us out of the studio until the end when I got him almost with an old school 1983 8-bit video game reference.
So I will say I am proud of myself.
Don't ask me to say the name again because I already forget it.
I couldn't tell you the name. It was the single most obscure question related to golf that I've ever been around in my life. But it's not just golf that I'm limited to in a sense of having just a wealth of useless knowledge. I learned from my childhood and one of my favorite shows, Cheers. I'm a born again New England freak. It was one of the first places I went to, like every other tourist when I got here when I was 19 years old, went down to the Cheers that's right there next to the Common. But if you remember the mailman Cliff, he got on Jeopardy. He's cleaning house. He's kicking ass. The final category was beer. And he just bet the house. And it was like a science related question on the chemical makeup of X, Y, or Z. And he lost. So when I saw video games, out of my element, goose egg on the wager. I sat back. I was the leader in the clubhouse by 5 with only one player left on the course and no chance. So I feel good about it. I
hit the albatross to only lose by 2.
Yeah. And I think that I'll represent the brand well for this year. And when we return next year, I'll bring the jacket back. We'll do the whole ceremony again. And who knows?
Yes, huge shout out to Scoreboard Addicts. You put that out. If you missed it, the whole Masters pre-show on Sunday night. You can catch it. I think they're re-airing the Jeopardy game again right now on their YouTube channel. I think I saw that. It might be done now, but they re-aired it tonight. So go check out their YouTube channel, Scoreboard Addicts. Catch it. See both me and Bud on there. It was a fun time, and you can catch the whole show if you go to Belly Up TV or TV Belly Up, I should say. It's on there. So definitely check that out. It was a good time. And it prepped us. We're ready for Masters Week now. And look, it starts tomorrow. They had the championship dinner tonight. And tomorrow we get the par 3. We get to see some skipping water shots. Like we get to see some fun stuff happen tomorrow.
The par 3 is great. I'm really dying to see if LT Gray and Charlie are going to play because that's where you really get to see some of the fun family moments come out. Jack Nicklaus's grandson a couple of years ago dunking an ace. You mentioned that we're ready. This is kind of the first. If you saw the throngs, which is a great word, the throngs of fans that were out there, even on Monday and yesterday, Tuesday for these practice rounds, there's 7, 8, 9, 10 people deep.
It looks like Championship Sunday.
It's going to be a picture Sunday if Tiger's in contention.
Oh.
I mean, and that's where it'll be fun once we get down to the 8K range in a little bit. Because I'm not gonna lie, that's even a little higher than I anticipated. But then I also noticed that they just pretty much went right in the middle because he is, I guess, that's the wild card.
Well, people are betting him. They're still throwing money on him, so they had to line it up accordingly.
They always know something, and I mean, let's be honest, he's not. This guy doesn't do anything uncalculated, unlaid out. I mean, I still could see him wake up Thursday morning, feel tight, and say, I can't do it. I'm not. I mean, I do believe that he has also earned the right to pull out at any given moment. Like somebody pointed out, there's no 5 p.m. deadline on Friday with the Masters. They're their own entity. They get to do whatever they want, say what, it is kind of their own beast. So the pomp and circumstance this week, Monday night with the amateur dinner, Tuesday with the champions dinner. I loved, there was a really great social media post from the Golden Bear himself, Jack Nicklaus. And it just said, we understand, we being Team Nicklaus, him and Barb, we understand that Tiger's, going to give it a go, and we're super pumped about it. We can't wait to see it, blah, blah, blah. And then it said, PS, not PS, but at the very end, it said, save me a seat tonight at dinner. And I got a little choked up there. And it got me thinking of all the lore, the tradition, the pomp, the circumstance. We'll talk about, favorite shots throughout history, actual competition, but the outside of the ropes part of the Masters. For me, I think I kind of learned this about myself reading that post, that the champions dinner, it might be one of those rooms, places, events that I would do a lot to get in. It's kind of like if you're, if you're a Catholic or if you're any kind of theologian or Catholic scholar, to be inside the Sistine Chapel when they're electing a new pope in the College of Cardinals. It's like, I mean, I maybe have seen a picture, I've heard tell, but to be in that champions dinner to me is, I think, the number one tradition created by this whole thing. What is that for you? What's the thing that jumps out and you're like, that's dope. In another life, I want that for me.
Well, I think it's the fact that you bring one to be at the Champions Dinner. You can, if that were the case and you were there, you could look around that room and say, just because how much we love golf, you look around that room and say, every guy sitting at these tables right now at one small moment, gave me chills, like, because of just when you watch the Masters. I don't know about you. I was even Sunday night for that preview show when they played the intro in the highlight clips. Like, my hair was like a foot tall off my, like, I was just like, it brought me into it. And I would feel that first time you hear that. Look, for me, the first time you hear the TV commercial song, the Come On ESPN or whatever,
the little piano jingle,
usually like beginning of February or something, you hear it and you, like, if I'm in the other room, it's like it's coming, and it just changes the mood for the day. It just reminds me that golf is right around the corner, and that's what the Masters is. It's always been for me, is that it's the signal of just golf season. I know so much happens before the Masters, but I don't know. The Masters is just like it has this aura about it that is just so. It's just special. It's like a kid at Disney World. Like, it just has this magical feeling about it. I'd love to just be in the parking lot. Like,
speaking of parking lot, we might be able to be in the parking lot from across from the U.S. Open. We got to talk offline.
Yes.
I might have us a spot to do a little live show from if we're not actually on site. Shouts USGA. But you're right. There's something mystical about it. People talk about it all the time. So I think that's what leads me to keys to success for this week. Quick timeout. I didn't realize there was an amateur dinner on Monday night until this year. I mean, I'm sure I had read that before, but I was reading an article about it, and that's what led me to also think about things like the crow's nest upstairs and all that kind of cool shit. But
beat you to that punch, just saying.
Yeah. Don't get me started, Junior. All right, so keys to success this week.
That question, I saw the shock.
Keys to success this week. I took my foot off the gas on that one. I mean, there's great stories about that. But anyways, keys to success this week. We're talking about the history of the game or the place, and I think that is where I start with is my 3 keys to success. I'm gonna start with history. First of all, you have to have it. I think Fuzzy Zoeller still the last time. Pause, breath, let the coffee go through. Fuzzy Zoeller, almost 40, a little over 40 years ago, was the last first-time winner. And there's a reason for that. We've seen a lot of folks, and we saw Will Zalatoris come, pretty close last year. But there's a reason it doesn't happen very often here. And it's because the ghosts, the memories, at this point, it's been around long enough that if you're a first-time player and you're on 17 with a downhill putt for the backside of the green, you all of a sudden can see Jack in those pants and the yellow shirt raising the putter up, and you hear Vern Lundquist, and that kicks in, and it's real for these guys. So you have to have at least some history. You got to be able to putt Let's be honest. That's one thing it's known for. It's very it's hilly, a lot of elevation change. That's the big thing with Tiger and his new shoes. We'll get into that later this week, but you got to be able to putt that place. And last, but certainly not least, par fives. I've been on a par five efficiency kick lately, but I think that's also because if you have that gear, if you have that club in your bag, pun fully intended. If you can take the par fives by the throat each week, you shorten the course, you lower par for yourself, and you actually can do the whole Bryson, this is a par 68. But in reality, those are the 4 easiest holes on the course anyway. So if you can take advantage of them, convert your opportunities. I know you love your opportunities converted. You're going to do well this week. So take advantage of the par fives, putt, and make sure you have a, let's say you have a long memory, but you also have you can quickly forget. So back to you in the studio.
Well, I do find it interesting when you brought the history, because not only for the first time playing do we not often see the winner, I mean, really ever see the winner. I think I saw something that even maybe only 3 or 5 times total has someone won within their first 3 times playing. Like it's something even their first 3 times is a small. I forget the exact number, but that's even a small number. So you really want to look for guys who, like you said, they just have a history. They know this course, because this is just one of those courses that you have to have seems like you have to have just an innate knowledge of the ins and outs of this course, because you got to be so precise about where you put the ball to set yourself up for those approaches. Which, so get into my keys. You said it with putting. Putting is probably my number 1 key this week. I have it weighted at 25% in my model. So strokes gained putting, stroke gained approach, also strokes gained par 5 for me. So we're on the same there, and then strokes gained ball striking as well. I think, like you said, a lot of things are going to come down to getting that ball on the green in a position to where you make those putts just a little bit easier for yourself, because the greens are probably the hardest part about this course, without a doubt.
What I love about it is when you said the greens, did you ever play the EA Sports Tiger Woods golf once they introduced Augusta?
I'm sure I did. I played them all. I don't specifically remember what year that was.
It was like 2010, 2011, 2012, somewhere in there.
So I definitely played it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's when they signed us. It was a huge deal, because I remember I actually bought the game. My wife somewhere rolling in her bed, like twitching, because once I bought that, I was hooked. I was playing it, there's weird virtual reality experience of being on the course. That's when you first noticed the sheer size of these greens and the elevation changes. And then you add to that the speed and the nerves and the fact that you're playing for everything you are. Yeah, putting, par fives, and you have to have some sort of history here. So let's what do you think?
Let's dive into it.
You want to start looking at some numbers?
Yeah, let's look at some numbers. And like I said, I alluded to the model that I used this week. So I know we were talking about pre-show here. We want to talk about quickly the idea of the mixed condition model that is available on fantasynational.com. So if you go and become a member of Fantasy National and really take advantage of all the tools that they offer, mixed condition models is one of those tools you can do. And basically what that means is you can specifically create columns where, for my putting column, my strokes gained putting, I have just that column specifically, Bermuda grass and lightning fast greens. So you can factor in factors specifically to that column. And then when you go over to strokes gained approach, you can a column for strokes gained approach, you can take off, because the greens don't really necessarily matter as much for strokes gained approach or say driving distance. So you can take off the factors of lightning fast greens or Bermuda greens, and you can put on, par 72 over 7,400 yards instead, because those are the stats that are going to matter for that stat specifically, where you're going to help weed out some of the guys who might be higher on there, just because if you're factoring in the greens, they technically might be scoring better on courses that have Bermuda greens, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily one of the top actual strokes gained approach players. So you got to try to narrow down that field as much as possible. And the mixed condition model is a perfect way to do that on Fantasy National.
Layers on layers on layers. And the funny thing is I'm over here smiling and laughing because I just dropped tiers. I didn't even pick tiers this week. Newsflash, this just in. This Bud's for You has dropped the training wheels and going straight up the classic, and have not locked in my lineups yet. And that's when we get through these tiers, not these tiers, these prices, derp. I'm looking to walk away with two recommendations and one get out of here. And so the mixed conditions model. See, now you gave me homework. Now I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to do more next week. I'm not going back on my word. I've got a pretty good run in my quote unquote other league. My winning streak came to an end, but I still finished high enough to jump up in the season rankings. I know y'all are dying to know how that one turns out. But first and foremost, double digits, the high priced gentleman of the game, the 10K and above crew. It's a small crowd. It's a familiar face crowd, and you would expect that at a major. Who do you like in the 10K and above range?
Well, first of all, before you even get into all that, congratulations to the new world number one, Scotty Scheffler. If you had told me that was going to be the case just a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. He didn't wasn't going to strike me as a world number one type of guy, but good for him for the run that he's had. And with that said, I am not playing him at 11,000 this week. So I just think if the highest guy that I'm going to pay for, if I'm going to pay for anybody up here, is going to be Dustin Johnson. That's going to be the high 10,000K guy that I would go to. And I should have had this pulled up already. Just curious to check what his ownership is here. But Dustin Johnson, a 15% ownership compared to some of the other high price guys. You got John Rahm at 17, Justin Thomas at 20. Colin Morikawa at projected around like 11% is actually pretty appealing as well. So I might have to revisit the only playing Dustin Johnson up here. But Hovland coming in at 12%, Rory at 13%. So, yeah, I'd say Morikawa and DJ are probably the two main guys that I would be looking at up in this 10K range.
I like DJ as well. The number that jumps out to me for him is the putting. I didn't realize he was putting as well he is overall. Yep. I think he's top 5 in strokes gained putting, which to me is just like, are you serious? Yep. So I like him, and I also, he's won the year before. He set the scoring record. It was a November Masters, so the conditions. I think there's an asterisk next to that record.
It's a little different. Yep, I agree.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and just put that one aside. Yes. But I disagree with you on Scotty Scheffler. I think that because his ownership's projected at 1,200, that extra $500 or 1,200, 12%, that extra $500 is worth it because of the way he's playing right now. Like that's kind of my thing is. Until he gives me a reason not to think he's going to fucking win, and he's playing, and it is that kind of run that, I don't know. He hasn't really faltered. So I get what you're saying. 11K taking the thing right off the top shelf is sometimes kind of like, but now I'm pigeonholed. You're all in. That person pretty much has to win, or they have to ball out because you're going to be bailing 1 or 2 spots in the bottom or calling it in. So I got Chef and DJ. And you could not pay me to play John Rahm this week. I'm probably going to eat those words.
But I don't typically ever play him at Augusta. I just don't.
I don't know if he's got it.
I don't either. I don't. I know he's been working on things, but this is not the type of course where if you let your emotions sneak into the way you play, it's not going to work for you. And I've just not seen it consistently enough to where I think he's going to be able to pull it off on the stage.
Right. I think because the U.S. Open was different. The U.S. Open is a different kind of grind where you gotta have a short memory around Augusta. And also you just gotta, it's basically like walking directly into a 50-mile-an-hour wind of freezing rain. You just gotta take it. There's nothing you can do about it. So I agree. I think that he'll run a little hot at some point, drop a couple in Ray's Creek, which by the way is RAE. I didn't realize that. I was today old when I learned it was Ray is in, I guess it's the original owner of the land. His last name was Ray, so that's Ray's Creek.
And if you didn't know, now you know.
So now you know. So would Jason you say, truth gun to your head, would John Rahm be your fade if you said you had to just run away from somebody there? Or is there anybody else you like least? Not Luke List, like least. You see what I did there? You love that.
Yeah, so look, as far as this range goes, when I say this range, the 10K range we're talking about here, John Rahm is the guy that I would have ranked lowest probably out of those guys. I would like everybody else a bit more. So with that said, considering he's the second highest priced guy, that's an easy fade for me this week.
Yeah, me as well. So,
and I will say, if you do want to play some like a DJ, a Scheffler, if you want to pay up for Scheffler, stick around because I think there's definitely value to be had out there to where you can afford it. It's not going to necessarily handcuff you for the rest of your lineup. And new rookie move out there with the volume, but
what in the heavenly? Go away.
It happens to all of us. But yeah, so I'd say I think there's some value out there. Some guys that could surprise that I'm surprised they're priced where they are. That are going to allow you to pay up a little bit. I think there's some interesting names out there this week as we get down this pricing.
Well, and so the best thing about this is it's a major. So by
Yes.
definition, if you've qualified to be here, you've got game. I mean,
Yes.
there's some caveats around there. There's some folks out there who won this in 1990, whatever. I'm not going to disparage any of the past champions, but past champions the field aside, there are some longer shots. I'll say I will stick with. There's a name that I got a feeling is going to get brought up later, and I'm going to just go ahead and smash it when it does because we'll cross that bridge. I could be wrong. It's happened before. All right. So I want to stick with the negative. Let's ride this negative wave. Who we fading in 9K? Who's because 9K to me is the juiciest range. I think those are all flashy names, and I think they all have significant strikes against them, save maybe one. So who you fading in the 9K?
I want to just quickly update his ownership. So I think I'm fading just based on how he ranks out in the model here. I'm going to fade Cantlay. I just think there's nicer options here, and I want to the guy I want to check the ownership on right now is Spieth. The 13. Ownership makes it tempting at only around 13%, and I really like Spieth. This is usually a course he plays good on, but I think there's, as far as the guys priced around him in that range, like I think I'd rather, for just slightly more ownership, play Cameron Smith, who's just on fire, and we know he now has the head game for a course like this. Xander Schauffele ranks out number 2 in my model, so I would definitely play him over Spieth. That was a very
I'm just sick of Xander Schauffele. I'm sorry. Thank you for the gold medal. But Rory Sabatini got silver. So let's just talk about what that tournament was. But
I think he's
got to deliver something before I'm back on the train. He's a phenomenally talented golfer, and I really think he's going to just blow up. But I will win something else before you get like you said, Cam Smith. So sorry, go ahead.
That's a fair look. It's a fair point. I totally get it. But like you said, this 9K range is just so juicy that I feel like I don't have to pay for a name like Cantlay just because he's been a more popular name over the last 2 years. Like I'd rather pay for someone who surprisingly has been quieter as far as hype, like a Brooks Koepka, or so, Hideki Matsuyama is not being talked about enough this week, and we've said it before on the show that he's having a very consistent year, one of his more consistent years, and I'm going to stand by that. I don't mind playing him. He has the history here. He's done it before. Literally. So, I like him in that. For I think he's only 9,200, 9,300. So when it comes to guys in this range, you're right, it's juicy. So I don't feel the need to buy a Patrick Cantlay. You got to fade someone. So I think Patrick Cantlay is that guy for me in this range.
God, finally, we disagree. No more of this hand-holding bullshit. No, I'm just kidding. Hideki's actually my fade this week, and just because he's been hurt, he's withdrawn. I think he had to withdraw last week or 2 weeks ago, and I think he's banged up. I don't know, and it's tough. And also the guy, he's got the mental game to do it, but at the same time, he didn't. Here it is. Here's why I'm fading him. He passed on the champion's parking spot. He preferred to be humble and park with the rest of his competitors. And I think it's one of those things where I get it. I respect that. You do you. Maybe it works for you, but I would want to flex. You get 1 year to do it. You may never. Now to his defense, he gets to come back and play for the rest of his life. So, anyways, Hideki's hurt. That's my latest. Fair enough. So I think I'm going to fade him. I love you with Cam,
even at 4% projected ownership. Just because
because that's not the percentage of him actually completing all 4 rounds right now.
Okay.
No, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I saw him out.
No, but if you're sticking on that, it's because he's injured, then that makes sense.
Yeah, I think injured's a relative term. I mean, he definitely was banged up, dinged up, pulled out of a tournament within the last month or so. So to me,
he pulled out of Valero last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that to me, that could have been him saying, I need to step back to prepare. But even then, that means you weren't on, there's some things. It's not DJ falling down.
But that's why at 4% ownership, if I'm playing multiple lineups, I'm going to take a stab on him in a couple because it's just too good of ownership for someone who could finish top 20 easy.
Could, but again, you're assuming he finishes it all. So that's why
I'm not going to go all in on him, but that's what I'm saying.
No. He's not an anchor.
Like if I'm playing 20 lineups, I might throw him in like 4. like 3 or
I
4.
get what you're saying. A leverage play where
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. All right. I still am not playing him, so
That's fine. That is fine.
no, because look who's right next to him, and even for $100 cheaper is Will Zalatoris, runner up last year.
Sure.
Although he's got the mental juju's going on after that lip out earlier this year at the Farmers, so he's not on my list of takers. You actually named both my guys. One we agree on. You can't pass on a mullet right now. I mean, it's Cam Smith.
It's going too well.
I do think he pushed that shot on 17. I don't think he was lining up to take it on or fade it in there like that. I think he was going middle green.
Yep.
And thank God he did, because that's a ballsy shot. But I think because of that and the way he rolls, I think he's top 5 at putting as well. He's gonna be chalky. What's he at? Yeah, I mean 16%. But I also wouldn't play anybody above him, right? He's the ceiling. He would be an anchor up there, and then you try to go there. And the other guy you mentioned is Brooks. I always bet on Brooks. ABB, FPR. So I
not
think
Patrick Reed, but Brooks. Yes,
that's right. That's what I'm saying. Always bet on Brooks. Fuck Patrick Reed. No, I'm just joking.
Oh wow,
it's a little early in the morning to be going blue with the language. My apologies.
Patrick Reed, I know you're watching this, so I apologize for my co-host.
Not until he apologizes for wearing that choker. So Brooks Koepka would be my other guy. So Brooksy, I love you. Do something this week. I would love to see him get into a green jacket, because also you want to talk about, if you want to see a champion go from one of the most humble, classic, soft-spoken, champions to let's go.
Yeah, it would be a party if Brooks wanted to make it a party for the next year.
It would be the best. All right, so
he'd have an ice luge at the champions dinner next year. Like he'd be all over it.
That's actually quick question for you, because I got to look something up real quick. Your champions dinner. What would your champions dinner be? And it doesn't have to be anything deep. I'm just saying, give me the appetizer, entree, and a drink.
I'd keep it simple for everyone. You know what, sometimes a group of people like that on a night where they know they're there to just enjoy the kind of the ambiance and the aura of the dinner. Don't go too crazy. Keep it simple with a beautiful steak, some mashed potatoes. Just give it to them straight. Some nice, fried up asparagus. Like I think you just give them a simple what everybody would love to eat there.
Meat and potatoes. I mean, classic Southern, not even Southern, but just a classic clubhouse meal. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a nice tomahawk porterhouse, something like that.
Oh yeah, you make it a good steak for sure.
What are you pairing that with? I don't care about brands or like a 1947 key.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is, like, are you offering up bourbon, beer, wine, soda?
Well, with steak, yeah, I think it would be nice wine. But I think maybe post dinner whiskeys, I think would be nice after that.
A little aperitif afterwards or whatever, a nightcap. No, I'm there
do a nice like whiskey option after the dinner, or like a port wine after. Like that would be a nice way to end the night.
It says right here it is a dessert wine. That's a line from Grease, by the way. I'd be the appetizers, chicken wings, buffalo wings from Taco Mac, specifically from Taco Mac, because it's a Georgia franchise anyways, all around Atlanta. Perfect. I worked at a Taco Mac in Athens, Georgia in college. So we could get them pretty easily, although I'm sure the chefs at Augusta National could do a copycat recipe. But we're going wings from Taco Mac. We're going surf and turf for the dinner. So we're talking filet and lobster tail with Brussels sprouts, not asparagus, but I do like the fried asparagus. And then as far as a signature drink, bourbon neat. And if you don't like it, we got water.
I love that.
All right. So no, but this is what I was looking up earlier. Speaking of first-time folks, can't take Taylor Gooch, right? First-time guy.
Nope.
You love him. He's going to do good things. But guy got busted wearing shorts this week.
I saw that. Yeah. It was a practice round, right, or something.
Right, because on the PGA Tour just recently, they were given the green light to wear shorts during practice round during the week. This, that, and the other. Yeah, he forgot.
This has their own rules.
Yeah, this is the PGA Tour. So, now, I mean, obviously, they didn't haul him out of there. I guess somebody, a member or somebody walked over. They just brought him in the clubhouse, found some pants for the guy, right?
Yeah. He took more heat on social media than he did.
Of course, and that's where. But you know what? That's where that belongs. We don't need to
Yes.
hear Jim Nance doesn't have time to talk about this, but
No.
divots and pivots can get into Taylor Gooch's pants, but we're not going to. Let's get back in.
Don't ever say that sentence on the show again, please.
So Taylor Gooch, though, is in the 8K range at 8,700. He's not my official fade for that range because he doesn't even make the he doesn't even make the whatchamacallit, the list.
Because he's not getting past our first obstacle of history. So it's not going to be a legit fade. I get that.
Yeah, if you don't have history, you are history. No, my actually fade here is your boy Sam Burns. I got a feeling you like Sam Burns this week, and I think it's because
I don't necessarily know.
I think I thought you would go with Sam Burns. If I'm wrong, I can be wrong. That's not one of your guys. Good.
That's not one of my guys. No.
Good, because he's not my guy either. I like Sam Burns a lot. I think he's actually going to be a fun kid to watch. Watch out for him come President's Cup time. I think if he turns it on like he did at the end of the summer last year, he's a name that I think he was on maybe some people's short list for maybe he'd be a fun out there Ryder Cup pick. I just don't like him this week. I think he's another one that's going to have to, like you said, it's going to take 4, 5, 6, 7 trips back here. I think he's going to have to win maybe once or twice elsewhere again to get that going. So he's my fade in the 8K range. What you want to stick negative? You want to go positive? It's your turn.
Yeah, well, we can start with my fade. We'll go fade here. So my fade in the 8K range is someone that I've been on quite a bit this year, but Mr. Shane Lowry at 8,800. He's just not doing it for me this week. He doesn't line up well. He's just not hitting the stats. He's disappointed us a couple times in picking him this week. So it's this year, I should say. So yeah, I have no interest in Shane Lowry, especially at that price. In a field like this, I think he's overpriced at 8,800. Just doesn't seem like where he should belong.
I feel like he's going to win 3 Open championships before he retires, and maybe a PGA.
I'm there to see it because, like I said, I typically like the guy.
I'm a huge Lowry guy, Shane. All right, so then your turn. You still have the talking stick. Who do you like here in 8K?
That's where this is, I think. And if you follow the Divots and Pivots Twitter, you already know where I'm going with this. I think the most egregious underpriced value in this slate is Mr. Tony Finau at $8,100. The man just plays. He does well. And look, I get why they priced him there. He hasn't had the most electric year. So like I understand it. But let me pull up his recent results here. Where is this Finau? So he hasn't really played as of recently. He played the Valero this past week. He finished T29. But before that, he really only played the player. So it's my opinion, my theory, that he's been warming up for this. He knows he likes the Masters. He's been in it just about every year. He hasn't finished outside. I think it was the top 15 or 20, top 20 in the last 4 or 5 years here. It was, he finished T38 in 2021, but other than that, it's T10, T5, T10. He knows how close he's been in this tournament in the past and how he's always near the top. I think he wants this. And I think he's got a fire under his ass this year where he's been playing his cards right to prepare for this tournament at $8,100 and at plus 6,500 on DraftKings last I checked on Sunday. A steal,
plus
a bargain,
6,500?
plus 6,500 outright winner.
So break that down for the middle school kids watching. What does that mean? If you bet X, you get what?
I'm awful with this math, so you're putting me on the spot.
So you bet like $10, you get 650 back. It's long odds.
Yeah.
Which for a guy like Tony Finau,
who's always in it.
Yeah, and
it's worth throwing 10, 15, 20 bucks, whatever you consider your unit at. It seems like it's worth it to me because the return is there.
We're not going to talk about my unit anymore, but we are going to talk about Tony Finau because you're right. Back in 2019, that T5 finish, that he was part of the crew that was in contention when they all came to 12 on the back nine on Sunday. They all dunked it in the water or in the bunker, and T Gray was the only one who found the green. Like it was the most classic setup for an amen corner fall apart. But those are the scars you need. I like Tony Finau as well here. I saw that name down there, and when I got down there, I had to do a double take because I thought it was a mistake. I really didn't think, and I think it's because, like you said, he just hasn't been out there recently. So without any kind of recent form, There's not a lot to put it behind other than past form. And this is the kind of place that not a lot changes. So if you can get past the mental demons and whatnot,
you talk, I'm going to quick because Fantasy National gives us his past like 5 or 6 tournaments on the year, but I want to look at his full year here because like I said, I don't think it's been bad.
No.
I think it's just not been flashy and it's not been regular. And like you said, he just hasn't been out there.
I came while you're looking that up. I came very close to putting my full faith and credit behind Mr. Eldrick Tiger Woods this week.
Yeah,
in the 8K range. It's just I have to be honest with myself, and I do not expect him to win. I want him to win. I want the story. I want him to tie Jack. I want the whole bit. I just genuinely, it's one of those things. First, I know it's Tiger, and he in his mind thinks he can win and everything like that.
Yeah.
But Bobby Jones said it. There's golf and there's tournament golf, and he hasn't played tournament golf in over 17, 18, 19 months. So to come back under these conditions, although it is kind of a home course advantage for him, if you think about it. I mean, he's the living legend, literally and figuratively, of that. So if he's in the hunt on the weekend, he's got mind control over a lot of these kids. But he's not my other 8K guy. My other 8K guy might actually make your socks, I was going to say roll up and down, but you might hate me for this. Adam Scott.
He's always so tempting to play here.
Past winner.
Yep.
Putts lights out here anyway. And again, he's just one of those guys that he's a ball striker. So if he's on, he could make a run at this, and but he could also shoot 78, 82 and catch an early flight back home. Like he's at that point. He's at that point in his career. But I look around there, and I mean, Joaquin Niemann could break through and win his first one. But then you got second place Louis. We already talked about fading Shane. Gucher and Burns are no-go territory. So in Sung J M, I just don't have a reason to play him. So
I can give you one if you'd like.
I'd like to hear one
because he's my other guy down in the 8K range for this fact alone. 6% ownership.
The leverage.
I can if I'm gonna have 6% ownership of M and I'm gonna get Tony Finau at 10%. Like, that's not bad. M is one of those guys who he just gets around this course.
Yeah.
And he tends to always be near the top. He hasn't done enough to get to finish it out, obviously, but he's a guy who gets around the course pretty consistently. And let me quickly tell you some of his stats here where he ranks out. We got Sung J M comes in 13th in putting in the field, 25th in par fives. So two of the main stats that we're looking at now. Obviously, he's not one of the longer hitters, so he's ranked middle of the field when it comes to driving distance. But that one's a bit more of accuracy than actual power distance. Because considering that he's that and he's still doing ranked 25th in par fives, means he can do that at this course without bombing it down the fairway. And he's also ranked top 50 in strokes gained approach and strokes gained ball striking. So, like I said, he's a guy that can just maneuver his way around this course without doing it in a flashy way, but doing it in a smart way. And that's kind of how you got to attack Augusta. Especially
in a DraftKings where you're just trying to find 6 people to make the cut, which is hard enough in a normal week. And so that's where
we've seen him in other tournaments where he does get hot and he just takes over the tournament.
Like, he can go comatose and run off. Yeah, he can go birdie on birdie. He led the tour in birdies 3 years ago, somewhere in the last 3 years. He led the tour in birdies and set a record. He also was the guy who famously plays every single week, but he was doing that for moments like this. I like that. I like that call. Not bad. Not too shabby.
Just to mix it up a little bit.
I like this. I like a little Sung J M. All right, $7,000. Now we're talking value.
Yeah. Now we're talking value. Now we're talking a large range of players as well. A lot of options.
Tons of options. And what I love about it is it's the Masters. So normally in a 7K week, we're trying to find one or two. It's actually not an embarrassment of riches, but there are reasons to play a lot of these folks as opposed to, just an overwhelming amount of reasons to not. Namely, you got a handful of former winners, past champions in here who are still playing some pretty decent golf.
Yep.
You've got some folks who are on the rise in guys like Jason Kokrak, Corey Connors, not really on the rise, but Corey Connors is playing well in the
Yeah, he has
moment.
been, yeah.
And I like to see our guy Cam Young, but I'm not going to play him. You know why? No
Why is
history.
that?
No history. No
And
history.
that might be the one thing that keeps me away from. I might be. I've been tempting playing him too, but then I do keep going back to that history and say, the odds of that changing are low.
Right.
And am I willing to ride those odds?
So I will say I love Max Homa, and I love that a tweet that's coming back around from a little while back when they were first, I think it was one of the first rounds of odds were released for the Masters. And he was just laughing about how at that point we didn't even think Tiger was going to play. It wasn't a real out, it wasn't even a thought. It was kind of like, maybe he'll. And he just says, "I love it. We have no idea what Tiger's status is, and he still has better odds than I do to win." It's like,
it was amazing how good Tiger's odds got to over the past week. And just obviously the bets are driving it, but I was surprised. I think he got as low. What was it, 35-1 or 40-1, something like that? Like, it shocked me.
I mean, it's because this is the major that once you win it, you can win it, and you can win it again and again and again. It's had more repeat winners than any of the other majors. And Tiger is not he's not going to embarrass himself, and he's not going to put himself in a position to do something dumb. So you do trust the judgment. Well, I love how I just said you trust Tiger Woods' judgment when it comes to his golf game.
Yes, when it comes to golf.
Maybe not driving decisions so much. Sorry, too soon.
He's past it. Come on now.
What, the DUI or the wreck? Or the time that his wife threw a golf club through the rear window. Anyways, bringing up old shit. No, but speaking of old things here, I do like an old champion down here, especially now that you've been bringing up. This was my big leverage play. The reason I was going to, but I buried it down in the 7K. I just didn't even think to look more. I had other differentiators up on high, and then you come in with your logic and statistics and tell me I need to be thinking wider angle lens. Bubba. I still think Bubba's won it twice. He's been in contention a bunch more times. What is this, an even or an odd year? It's an even year. He only wins in even years. Check the books. Fact.
Look, some people, that stuff for some reason always falls that way. It's strange.
Bubba from Baghdad is a guy who at 5% ownership, past champion multiple times.
Yeah.
And again, Augusta, if you catch him in a good week, it's a shot. Uneven lies. You got to be able to make shots. You got to be able to shape the ball. Every single swing, you can't just cock and load, and just let it rip every time and hit the same shot. You got to be able to shape it. Nobody does it better than Bubba, except for maybe Tiger. But I think that's just kind of the understood thing. So
Tiger being Tiger.
I like Bubba down there, and then another guy who is going to break. I don't know if he ever will break through, but is Paul Casey. Popeye's got relatively decent.
He's a guy you're always cheering to break through. Like, he's just a likable guy out there.
Yes, he's likable. He's he was in the hunt. He was in the hunt for the players again this year, and he's got that demeanor and that mentality that you want him to win. But at the same time, he's been in the hunt here before too, and had some heartbreak. So, and last 5 years, I think he's only missed one cut. So, he's gonna show up. He's gonna hit some good shots. He's gonna keep his head in the game. And if he's hanging around on the weekend, who knows? But I'd be willing to bet he's gonna make the weekend. And so that's the most important part about it.
Yeah, no. So look, I agree with you on Bubba. He is falling into my he was one of the guys in my six guy lineup here on DraftKings. So I'm right there with you on Bubba. It just he's just one of those guys that he has that feeling around Augusta. He's one of the guys who, like, when you picture Augusta and the Masters in the last 10 to 15 years, he's one of the top 5 faces you can picture on the course, because he just always shows up. And like you said, the 2-time winner, he's obviously got the history. He's playing decently well right now too, especially in the key stats. It just seems to, like you said, to be lining up for it to be one of those years for him.
You got to throw out the record book sometimes in the stats at Augusta if there are circumstances like the guy's won it multiple times, and he's playing. Again, the reason why nobody's going, Tiger doesn't have a shot, this is ceremonious. It's like, because did you see the look in his eyes at the press conference? Can you win this?
And you gotta watch that stuff sometimes, because that's confidence. And you walk out on a golf course with confidence at this level, you can be a dangerous man.
Yeah. Speaking of dangerous, why does Matt Fitzpatrick from that 7K range? I didn't mean to pivot so hard on you, but
No,
that's
no,
what we
but
do here on Divots and Pivots. We pivot. So he's my fade this week.
and
Seven.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think he's
Yeah,
too popular this week.
yeah. He can. First of all, the man can putt, and I think that's why people do like
Yeah,
him. And I
yeah.
think he's kind of another. Oh, don't sleep on Matty Fitzpatrick. I think he's got to win another tournament somewhere else. I don't think he's going to break through here because we've seen him have some mental kind of snafus. But I'm not big on Matty Fitzpatrick. He's my official fade,
Okay.
quote unquote official. We're going to make it Facebook official.
Like
But somebody else who I think is going to get a lot of love, and it looks like it from the projected ownership, is Corey Connors.
Yeah, I think he is too.
15% projected ownership because he's a ball striker and he's hot right now because he went deep into the match play. But I don't know, man. On a prop bet, if somebody just said, 6-pack of beer for him to make the cut, I'd say I got the under. He's 0-2 barbecue for Corey Connors this week. Sorry, Canada.
That's interesting because I actually do have him in my lineup right now.
So what kind of beer do you like?
But well, no, I'm not gonna say it. We will.
We'll talk about it offline. We got our.
We'll
first
talk about it offline. We'll have a little
bet. I think that's a fair.
So you're saying Corey Connors to miss the cut? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying miss the cut, and I would. Yeah, and I wouldn't even have said that until you said I don't know, man. I got him in my little fancy multi-layered model.
I do, and you want to know why is because he ranks first in the field in strokes gained approach and first in the field in ball strike, and you nailed it. Like you said, he's a ball striker, but he's also ranked 24th in putting. Specifically, like I said, in the mixed conditions, 24th in putting on lightning fast Bermuda greens.
2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, he played 5-6 days consecutive match play golf.
And look, and that can be wearing. I get that argument.
Guy's going to set the course record this week. Watch. All right, so we got Corey Connors. We got a Divots and Pivots official. We'll put it out there on the Twitterverse. We gotta make sure we have that.
We'll put a poll up. See who you think's going to win. Which side are you on? We'll make it interactive.
Well, those are two different questions. We all know that everybody loves you more than me, but that's just because I'm the golf brain and you're the talent. No, I agree with you on Bubba. I've got Casey and you've got Corey.
Yeah.
Who else you got in 7K? We already talked about this.
Yeah. So the other guy. Okay. So here's one that I do have in 7K. I'm curious to get. I do have Jason Kokrak also in my lineup.
I like that.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. So I had sent you an article. I don't know if you read it earlier. So, and he was one of the guys that shocked me. And I don't want to. I'll get to the name of the article as I talk here because I don't want to get it wrong and I want to give the person credit who wrote it. But
I'll find it.
Basically, what it was is that this writer went through what he called the 7 deadly sins of the Masters, and funny enough, one of the first ones he mentioned was you got to have a history. You don't win your first time here, and he even threw in. I think that's where I got the stat of within your first 3 times playing, or 2 or 3 times. So he goes through all these different things, key stats that go along that tend to always fall in with the winners, and basically what it came down to was a field of 12 guys that he thought had a realistic shot to win the Masters this year.
Sure.
Mr. Jason Kokrak was in there, which piqued my interest, which caused me to then go do deeper research on him.
Sure.
And once I put my model together, he came out ranked 16th in my model. And what I found is he's 11th in par 5s, 17th in putting, 15th in driver distance, and then he's 39th in ball striking and 48th in approach. But he's been playing pretty decently this year. If we go and look at his first of all, if we look at his tournament results, he's only played here twice in the last 5 years. So he doesn't necessarily have.
He's made a cut. Sorry, go ahead.
And he made the cut last year, finished 49. So nothing flashy there. But he's been a name that has popped a couple times just this season as a whole. And if this wants to load, I can actually tell you how he's done. So he finished T53 in the Players, but he was playing better than that earlier on in that tournament. And then he finished T26 at the Arnold Palmer. Mm-hmm. So he's a guy who I think can hang around, can make the cut, and at what did we say? He was 7,200. Is that what we said?
Yeah, he's low 7K. And
yes, at 7,200, and at the ownership of, I got too many windows open right now. At the ownership of sub 3%. Yeah, that's a guy that in this range, so that I could go up and pay for, a Dustin Johnson if I want. Or if you want to pay for Scotty Scheffler, like you said, like those you can do that. You can and with some of the other plays that we've given you here for value plays in the 7 and 8K range, you can do that and still not even have to dive into the 6K range, which is pretty fantastic when you're talking about a major tournament like this.
Oh, for sure. And actually, let's actually rip through 6K, and we don't have to go. It's not a fire drill or anything, but let's make sure we don't neglect it, because
Correct.
there are some names down here that I find intriguing, mostly for. Well, I think once you get down to the 6K range, you're not throwing stats away, never. But
No, because like we've said in the past, you just want someone who's going to make the cut in the 6K range, and those stats become important to do that.
right, like I don't think you're going to take Larry Mize, down. No, I'm just kidding. Past champion.
That name is just going to be on your mind for weeks now.
For sure. But major champion, again. Well, let me ask you this: if you're picking 6K, and I don't even know what would chalk, quote unquote, look like for a 6K player. Who's the highest? Who's that? Let me see here real quick.
The highest owned, is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be Gary Woodland. Yeah, so 11%. So there's the balancing act, where if you have to spend 6K because you're plugging in a hole from your lineup, you're not building your lineup around a 6K player. But if you're down here finding them, do you care about chalk like that? Or is it like, listen, this is just a filler. So, really like if you're confident that Gary's going to make the cut, you take Gary, because that's not your horse.
As long as the ownership isn't like outrageous. And what you say he was again?
11.
Yeah, so that's fine with me. That's not crazy. If you were going to tell me that he was something over like 14%, that's when it really starts to become a concern for me, because even if he makes the cut, you're not really having too much of an edge on the field there when you're talking GPP, guaranteed prize pool for anyone who doesn't know what that is. But it's basically the big field tournaments where the odds of winning are lower, but the prizes you can win are much higher. Yeah, Gary Woodland. Look, Gary Woodland is someone that I actually really like this week. He was someone I mentioned Sunday night on the preview show as a big time value play. I will be mixing him into my exposure this week, especially into some of the lineups where I can maybe get two of those 10 and 9K guys mixed in there. So I do like Gary Woodland this week. And look, the 11-12% ownership really isn't that bad. And like we said, if he's going to make the cut from 6,900, I'm kind of not caring too much about that ownership.
No, not at all. I like him down there. I don't really have a fade in the 6K range. I mean, I guess if you truth gun to my head, if you're gonna have to fade somebody down here, I'd say fade Kevin Kisner. I think he's just a popular name. I think he's a popular name when he's playing well, and everybody would be like, "Oh, Kiz," but you got to read between the lines. He talks about places like Augusta that he's like, I don't have the firepower for it. Does that mean he can't make the cut? No. But it talks about kind of that mental space when he gets to this. What are his personal expectations, which might just be to make the cut. But I think he would be my quote unquote fade, which don't at me, bro. I love Kevin Kisner. But just
I do too, but I'm fine with that fade. I'm fine with that fade too, though, because if he's already making it, you can't go into Augusta already making excuses for potentially not performing. So same thing. I like the guy too, and I was pumped to see him at the the WGC a couple weeks ago. But yeah,
I like seeing him make a run. I like to see him up there at the Players. I mean, I like Kevin Kisner a lot, because then on Monday he might have a hoodie on playing in the Barstool Classic or some stupid, nonsensical, tournament. But who's somebody else that you see down there? I want to hear your value down in the 6K range, because I couldn't get past Gary Woodland and then names. I'm not, I don't do good at the digging through the trash that much.
Yeah, when it like I said, when it comes to down here, I'm just looking for guys who kind of have multiple, like at least 3 of the key stats where they're ranked, like say top 40, because it's hard to find that when you're looking down here. So when I'm doing that, I'm coming across guys let me see, I just lost it here. I'm coming across guys like Christian Bezuidenhout.
I know
Bezuidenhout, however you say it. I am so sorry for butchering that. But the main thing I see there is that he's ranked 5th in putting. So if he does, it's one of those where if he happens to have a week where he can perform better than his 38th ranked in strokes gained approach and 43rd ranked in strokes gained ball striking, he has the potential to maybe gain a couple strokes on some longer putts on the field. It just depends on how close he's able to put it. So, but like I said, I think he's 6,700 or something like that. Yeah, 6,700, and I guarantee you his ownership is going to be 6%. So that's a guy down there that I take a shot on him just because his putting is so high. I think Hudson Swafford was looking all right down here with his stats.
Shouts to my old high school teammate Hudson Swafford.
Yeah. And then like a guy like Danny and then a guy like Danny Willett, who just for some reason always has like 2 good rounds when he plays at the Masters. I mean, he's won it before.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's the one thing. It's like he's one of those names that you go, oh God, yeah, that's right. He won
You
the Masters.
forget.
Zach Johnson won the Masters.
Yeah.
Trevor Immelman won the Masters.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Angel Cabrera won the Masters, and now he's doing 2 years for some sort of nastiness down in Argentina.
We don't need to go into it.
No, we do not. So down here, though, Gary Woodland I love, and I like Eric Van Rooyen. The guy's a birdie machine.
Yes.
He's a birdie machine, 5% ownership. And so I do think that that it's worth that. You're going to get some leverage out of there. He can putt. He's middle of the road in all the key stats. He's not top 10 or top 20 even, but I don't think he's outside 50 of anything that we're looking for. So down there, low ownership. If you've got a little jingle jangle that you need to throw out to somebody, give it to the South African. Or I think you're playing the South. They're both from South Africa, actually. Anyway, back to the studio.
Not 100% sure myself, so I'm going to leave it there. But look, so you're right. Eric Van Rooyen can putt. He hasn't been recently. That's what makes me a little nervous about him. But he has it in him. So he's just one of those guys. If you're willing to take a dart at him, yeah, he has the chance to pull it out when it matters. And for the price, when you're down there, if you're paying up for enough guys that you believe in up top and higher price, then it could be worth the dart throw for sure. But we're getting to the end of the show here. We only got a couple minutes left. So I think if we kind of round this out with, I've made, while we've been sitting here, I've made my lineup. I don't know how you did, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give kind of like my 3 core players that I'm going to be probably playing the most of this week. And for me, that's going to be Tony Finau, Bubba Watson, and Sung J M, I believe. So those are going to, like I said, I'm going to be all over Finau this week. I picked him to win outright. I just think he's being so disrespected with the pricing and with his betting odds that I'm all over him. I truly believe that he's been holding out for this tournament this year. So give me Finau, give me Im, give me Watson as a kind of a core classic DraftKings to build my lineups around.
I love Finau as well. That was one of those folks that I had written down, and I wasn't as big on him until I heard how big you were, and then I was like, wait, I was there first. No, it just really you helped affirm my gut, which I appreciated. So I love me some Tony Finau, and then I am probably going to have to be going around the 6-7K range because I'm getting greedy, and I'm not going to play a ton of Chef or DJ. I'm actually going to drop down the other 2 names. So Tony Finau, give me Cam and give me Brooks. Give me Cam Smith, give me Brooks Koepka. I just do think it's going to be a pedigree kind of week. I think it's going to be a classic Masters. I don't think we're going to see a name come out of nowhere. I think it's going to be somebody that quote unquote makes sense.
Yeah, and I said it earlier in the week too that Cam Smith was probably going to be my second pick for like an outright winner. He just, as far as value, I had to step away from because value-wise he's just more expensive on DraftKings, and his betting value is only like plus 1,300. And when I have the option of betting Tony Finau instead at plus 6,500, it's just when you're talking about value compared. But if we're just talking about chances to win, I think Cam Smith is right up there with some of the highest chances to win this week. Just coming off the performance he did at the Players, I think just gave him all the confidence in the world.
For sure. All right. What are you saying? Truth gun to your head. Who wins? All your eggs.
I'm going to stick with Tony Finau. I truly believe in Tony Finau. I've said it all.
It's not a DraftKings thing. It's
it's just I truly believe that he knows how close he's been in the past and he wants it. Look, they all want it. It's the Masters, but it just seems like he's geared up for it.
And I want to see if Augusta National is going to let his social media team do these, like he's been doing these like outfit walk-in videos through his social media, like the NFL players do walking into the locker room. I think it's dope. Tony Finau drip is
why not mix it up? Mix it up for the fans. I love it. All right, well, so who's your gun to your head? Your final pick here in the last few seconds of the show.
Brooks Koepka. I really do. Okay. I think he's knocked on the door a couple times. He knows how to win majors. He admittedly locks in for majors and shows up and backs it up. So I do think that Brooks he might get out there and knock it around and get it done quietly. JT is going to be chalky, but Brooks is where I'm putting my eggs.
I like it. Well, look, it's Wednesday. The Masters start tomorrow morning. Enjoy the par threes today. Enjoy that. It's always a fun precursor to the tournament. Best weekend. I'm going to say it again. Just enjoy it because I'm going to enjoy it. I absolutely love it. Happy Masters Week. Thank you for joining us here on the Divots and Pivots show every Wednesday, 10 a.m. right here on Tiki Live, Belly Up Sports TV. Have a great day, everyone.